my YouTube channel. Today's recipe is so completely out of my comfort zone. I was really hesitant to put this up, but I did put up a picture of this chicken biryani that I made on Instagram. If you aren't following me on Instagram, make sure to follow me because there's so much action happening there. And actually that was the inspiration for today's video. So I put this picture up on Instagram and I was not anticipating or expecting this kind of response. Everyone was like, recipe. So I said, okay, I reshot it completely and today's recipe is that chicken biryani. Now, there are various types of biryanis. You could have a Hyderabadi biryani or a Lucknowi or Avdi style biryani, Kolkata, Bombay, Thalasari, Malabari. There are so many, and it's also just not a standard recipe. There are different regions and different houses even make their own biryani, and I know there's so much chatter about this, so I want to be very clear that this is my version of a biryani. I have written a detailed blog post as usual. It has all information about biryani, the history, different types, and of course the detailed recipe. It's in the description link below, so make sure to check that out as well. Now, if you compare the picture that I put up on Instagram to the final recipe over here, you'll notice there's a color difference. It's not got that yellow bright color that the first recipe has, and that's because I just did not add enough spice. So I'm gonna add all these footnotes as well in the blog post. So if you were comparing the two, then you'll see a slight difference. If you're not, you're gonna enjoy it any which ways, and either which ways, it's a great recipe. This recipe is it's inspired by a Hyderabadi style biryani, but I want to say it's like an amalgamation of different recipes because it's my version or it's my take. Like, it's got fried potatoes in it, and I don't see that in a lot of Hyderabadi biryanis, and it's got like my own take of masalas. And I know like a lot of recipes, especially in biryani, use like whole spices. I don't do that. I just use powdered ones because it's convenient. So please take this with a pinch of salt or like a heaping helping of salt. It is delicious. I promise you, it tastes so good. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Make sure you like this video. Leave me a comment whether you like the recipe or you didn't like the recipe. It doesn't matter. I love to hear from you. If you do try out this recipe, then of course make sure to tag me because I want to see all your creations. And of course, before I forget, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's get cooking. For any biryani, ideally you want long-grained basmati rice. So the first thing is to soak your rice and wash it about 2 or 3 times and keep it soaked for a minimum of half an hour. Add some sliced onions to a pot of oil and gently fry them till they turn color and completely change to brown and become nice and crispy. This is what you would call a barista. You get these ready-made, but if you don't, then you can make it at home and you fry the onions yourself. You would use this for marination and also when you're layering the biryani. So once you're done with this step, you just set it aside and then we get moving. Now we start with marinating the chicken. To your clean chicken, you add in salt, red chili powder, coriander powder, cumin powder, turmeric powder, cinnamon, some garam masala, a little bit of pepper, some fresh chopped green chilies, mint leaves, coriander leaves, ginger garlic paste, and then of course the most crucial ingredient, yogurt. Mix all the ingredients together properly. I would recommend using your hands, but in this case I've used a spatula because I've used chicken on the bone, and every time I do this I get jabbed with a sharp pointy bone. So just be a little careful, but ideally mix this well with your hands and let it sit for an easy 30 to 45 minutes. The longer the better. Whilst the chicken is marinating, I would roughly cut up some potatoes and fry them just with a little bit of salt. As you can see, some are round, flat shaped, some are cubed. It doesn't really matter. You can fry them however you like. I like adding fried potatoes into my biryani. I just think that it gives it a good texture and taste. You can, if you want to. If you don't want to fry them, you can just add the potatoes to your chicken whilst you're cooking. Either which ways it works. And just a little pro tip, all the potatoes that you're peeling, I would save the skin and then fry it in the remaining oil. They make lovely crisp chips. They taste amazing. Don't add it to your biryani. You need to add the fresh potatoes to your biryani. The skins are just for fun. Simultaneously, I would add a pinch of saffron to about 1/4 cup of milk and heat it up nicely till the milk becomes a pale yellow color. I use this to color my biryani. I use fresh saffron. If you have food coloring, you could use that as well, but I prefer to do it this way. Now, ideally, you would have added some of those fried onions to the marination. I completely forgot that, so I just put some of that in a pan and then added the rest of my chicken for it to cook. And I would cook this for about 10 minutes. I've added some more of the fried onions. There's really no quantity. You could add as much or as little as you like, and you let this cook for about 10 minutes or so. Ideally, cover this and let it cook for 10 minutes. Whilst the chicken is cooking, I would boil some water in another pot. I'd add salt to it. I like to add some garam masala. Over here, I might have overdone it a tad bit and added too much, but just a teaspoon is fine. I'd also add a little bit of pepper to flavor the rice, and I'm going to cook my rice in this water. Traditionally, people tend to add whole spices. I don't particularly do that. I just feel like it's a mouthful. And I think the powdered version works fine. So I would do this and wait till the water to come to a boil, and then when it does, I'd add in the rice and cook it till it's about 70 to 80% done, and not more than that. You don't want to overcook the rice. While the water is coming to a boil, you can check on your chicken. You will notice that the chicken has released a lot of water and sort of formed this slight gravy, or what is commonly called a jhol. This is wonderful because that's also going to flavor the biryani and give it another set of color. I should have added more spice at this stage in my marination. It would have given it a brighter color, but this works as well. I would cook my rice exactly for about 6.5 minutes, because I feel like once the water's come to a rolling boil and you cook it for 6 minutes, that's the ideal time. It doesn't overcook then. I would then just drain the water out completely and let the rice sit whilst I start prepping for the rest of the biryani. This is like the final stage. So to my chicken that is cooking, it's been cooking now, I want to say for about 15 minutes. I add in the fried onions and a little bit of chopped coriander and some mint leaves. I could also add some potatoes at this stage. Truth be told, I forgot. On top of this, I put a nice layer of rice and I try to spread it out as evenly as possible. On top of the rice, I start layering it with the fried potatoes, and then of course another round of the fried onions, along with some fresh coriander and mint leaves. I add the final layer of rice and spread it out evenly. This is all the rice. I've used everything at this stage. On top of that, I add the rest of the fried potatoes. You could just decorate it however you want. It doesn't really matter. To that, I'll add another round of freshly chopped coriander and mint leaves. It just gives it such a nice flavor, and it also looks nice on top. I'd add in some more of the fried onions. Whatever is left, I would just add in at this stage. Don't hold back at all. And then for me, the final round is when I start pouring in all that wonderful milk that has been soaking with the saffron. It's a pale yellow color, and I think also over here I skimped out a little bit. Maybe I should have added half a cup of milk or more saffron just to give it a deeper color. But you just spread it all out on top of the rice at this stage. If you want to add food coloring, you can as well, but it's not mandatory. Once this is done, I would cover this and cook it for another total of say 10 to 12 minutes. The first minute on a high flame and then on a low flame. I don't cook this on dum, but I do just put in a little clove piece so that the steam doesn't come out. But if you want to, you could put some foil or you could put it on dum. It doesn't matter.
Now this is my biryani after it's been cooking nicely for 10 minutes. I like to use a flat spoon that just has a flat edge, or even a plate, because you know how you open up the biryani and how you serve it is really important. So I just take that flat spoon and start fluffing it up from the side. You don't dig deep into the biryani because otherwise you will break everything and it just gets very mashy. So very, very carefully you would just layer it out, or scoop it out rather, not layer. You'd scoop it out onto your serving dish and you're ready to go. As you can see, I've added some rice, some of the meat. I've tried to mix it up, the potatoes. I just garnished it with a little bit of coriander just for some specks of green. Otherwise, I thought it was a bit too brown, but you don't have to do that. You could, if you want, add some more fried onions on top or garnish it any way you like. There's really no hard or fast rule. This is pretty much it. This is my recipe for my version of a biryani. As I mentioned before, the color is a little bit different and not as bright as the picture that I put up initially. So I would say add a lot more spices and masalas to it.
So that's it. That's my recipe. Please do not come for me saying, oh, this is not authentic and this is not exactly how it is. This is my version. I think it's freaking fabulous and I think you will enjoy it as well. So I hope you like this video. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next recipe.